Hey everyone, welcome to this week's episode of Shelter on Base. I'm Cole Kuiper here with my normal crew of Carmen, Kiew, Therese, Vinal, Anthony Garcia, and this week we have a very special guest, Giants legend, 2010 hero, the man with the smile, Cody Ross. Welcome to the show, Cody.
Thank you guys. Good to be here. I appreciate it. Been looking forward to it.
Nowadays' worst nightmare.
That's right.
That's right.
It's been a weird couple of months. How have you been spending your last few months? I know you're an avid golfer. Have you been really taking some strokes off the game?
You know, I have. It's obviously been tough this whole time, but what I have been able to do is spend a lot of time with my family, play a lot of golf, and definitely get that handicap down, which is the most important thing for me right now, besides my family, of course. Bring that handicap. I'm trying to get to the plus side of things. I'm actually a 0 handicap right now. I'm trying to get to that plus level, and it's really hard. It's really hard.
We have a few fan questions related to golf that I'd like to hit you with.
Okay, perfect.
Golf's on the mind. Tyler07 wants to know, would you call yourself a better baseball player or a golfer right now?
Well, I can tell you, right now, that's a really good question. I see all these guys like not like they're not wanting to play this year, or some, not. There's a few of them. They're like, I'm going to opt out, and I'm like, maybe. Can you guys hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay, sorry. I just got
a roster for you.
Yeah, there might be some room, so I might need to pick up a bat instead of a golf club. I can definitely tell you I've spent more time on my golf swing than I ever did on my baseball swing, which I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. I probably should have spent more time on my baseball swing. But, it's right now I'd probably say I'm a better golfer.
All right. Jake wants to know, what's your go-to club on a tight fairway?
Well, I guess it just depends on how far I am. I assume he's thinking, like, if I'm short distance, I'm trying to get to a pin, maybe call it 50 yards, I'm probably going to use like just a wedge. A lot of the guys on tour will maybe pull out their 60 degree or 52 degree, but I'm probably just going to use my wedge and just kind of chip it up there and let it roll to the hole.
All right. Good answer. And then finally, Derek has a two-parter. He wants to know, how come you get so far off the tee box, and can you grow your hair out for us?
That's a really good question. Well, I have to definitely say, the distance comes from baseball. I think it's a God-given thing with the way my hips turn and the way my hands move through the ball. That's probably the way the distance goes. The reason why I can hit it, decently far. I want to be humble, but and then for some reason, I don't know why I can't grow my hair out. I've been trying for a while. It's funny, I still have dreams that I wake up, and I won't wake up, but I'll be in my dream and I'll be like doing this with my hair, and then I wake up and I'm like, dang, it's not there.
That's awesome. Therese, we found a great article about Cody's reputation in Philly. You want to talk a little about that?
Yeah, well, you meet Cody Ross, he's like one of the nicest guys. He's got the biggest smile on his face. He holds court in any bar in Pebble Beach.
True story.
A villain of any sort, but that's apparently what you are in Philadelphia. You are the number one villain for all Phillies fans. What do you have to say to being known as a villain?
Well, it's a good thing and a bad thing. Obviously, I'll never be able to go back to Philly and just go have a nice cheesesteak ever, because I don't know what they're going to do to my cheesesteak. But I read something the other day where it did say that I was their number one villain, and it's funny because if you look back since Game 1 of the 2010 NLCS, the Phillies really haven't been the same since. And I don't know if it was because they thought they were just going to just mow right through us and, we weren't going to have a chance, which I don't think anybody thought we were, except for all our fans in San Francisco and everybody that believed in us, the team, the front office, everybody, the families. Nobody else gave us really a chance, but since then, they really haven't been the same. And I want to feel like I kind of take a little credit for that.
You broke them.
I'm happy that I am the villain of I did. They haven't been the same. And, so I will take a little bit of credit, I guess.
That's awesome.
You just also seem to have you also just seem to have Phillies that was like your team to shine against. Did you actually ever look forward to playing the Phillies? Was Roy Halladay something that you were just like, yeah, let's do this?
Well, so here's the deal. The great thing about the 2010 run was I played the National League East for so long, or not so long, 5 years, that when we went to Atlanta, I felt really comfortable in their stadium. I actually had a really good NLDS, and then which kind of gets a little overlooked. But then once I got into Philly, I felt just as comfortable. Never would I ever say that I felt comfortable against Roy Halladay, because my statistics say otherwise against him. But it was a comforting feeling knowing that I'd faced him multiple times going into that. Where a lot of the guys on the Giants maybe only seen him, maybe they might not even seen him, because they might have missed him whenever he came to San Francisco, or they missed him whenever they went to Philly, or whatever the case may be. But I had faced him quite a bit that time. Actually, he had threw a perfect game against us that year. And so there wasn't a whole lot of confidence going into that game one, but I tell this story a lot. I say the one thing that I tried everything. I tried hitting the ball up the middle, a sinker baller that throws hard. You got to try to stay up the middle. You got to try to hit the ball the other way. You got to try to, just stay inside it. And I'm like, I tried everything, and I was like, for my life. And actually, I did get one hit off of him before that, and he threw me a pitch, and literally, I swung and I hit the ball right here, almost hit my finger, and it went over the literally over the first base, Ryan Howard's head, and he almost caught it. And I got on first, and I'm like, woo, yes, let's go. I just got a hit off Roy, and in the paper it's gonna look like a line drive, but I almost broke my finger. So going into game one, I tried everything, and I'm like, you know what? The one thing that I haven't tried to do, which I don't know why, because I always try to do it my whole career, was just try to hit a home run. I'm just going to try to hit a home run. So my first at bat, I'm like, come up, wham! Oh, wow, it really worked. And I'm running around the bases, and I'm on I can't even feel my legs running, and I don't even know if I touched the base because I can't feel I'm running on a cloud. And I'm like, wow, that just really happened. And I'm jogging around, and then so I get to the dugout, and everyone's just as surprised as I am. Everybody in the world is just as surprised as I am. And so I'm like, you know what, screw it, I'm going to try it again. Second at bat, wham! I mean, it was almost the exact same pitch in the exact same spot. And I was like, wow, that was awesome. So, a little bit of confidence going into that, not against Roy, but just in that environment, probably helped me out a little bit.
It almost landed in the exact same spot, too, if I
Yeah, it did. It was very, very close.
Well, I know your performance definitely brought tears to not only Phillies fans, my husband, who was a Phillies fan back then.
Oh.
He's been converted.
Converted, good.
Yeah. So you brought many tears to them, but like Giants fans, Anthony said so himself, you brought tears to all Giants fans' eyes too for your performance in that time. So.
Well, thank you. I it's really nice when I go back, or even sometimes I'll be in Arizona or wherever, and a Giants fan will come up to me and say, hey, I just want to say thank you. My grandpa was a lifelong Giants fan, and he thought he was never going to see, you guys win a World Series, and he got to see it, and then, he passed like a month later or 2 months or a year later. So he was like, and so those kind of stories, I've heard quite a few. They're just like super touching. And and you don't realize that until afterwards, like how impactful like that whole year was. And the first Giants championship in the history of the city, and it was just an incredible experience.
Yeah, it's got to be pretty unique to be so well known and revered in a city where you only had less than 50 games with the team.
It's incredible. Yeah,
they're legends. They're gonna, you dream in the city after 45 games.
Right. Yes, I know. And it's incredible. I call San Francisco my home and I was there almost the shortest amount of my career, but I just felt, when I go back, I just feel, the love and everything about it. And it's just incredible. The whole Bay Area, including everywhere, and everyone's just so, every time if they recognize me, they'll just have this big smile and be like, Cody, and I'm like, yeah, what's up? Thank you. And I'm like, no, thank you. And so it's really nice to get back there and see the fans.
Well, even down here in Pebble Beach, you weren't even playing in the AT&T Pro-Am. You were a caddy, and you were getting the most recognition. People were like, Cody run!
Yeah, that was an incredible experience. I got to caddy for a buddy of mine, Kelly James, and he made a lot of jokes about it. He was like, "Wow, the guy who's the less famous guy's playing and the more famous guy's caddying. It doesn't really make sense." So it was pretty funny, but an awesome experience.
And knowing that the 2010 reunion was supposed to happen this year, but obviously been postponed, what were you looking forward to most with that reunion? Because you were supposed to be here for that.
Yeah, I was just looking forward to getting back and seeing, my old teammates, some of the ones that I haven't seen in forever. We did have the Bochy deal last year, which was incredible. I got to see a lot of the guys there, and then some of the past guys that I haven't seen and, that I'd played against. And, just getting back and seeing those guys and the coaches and a lot of the fans, and just the whole weekend was going to be incredible. But, this whole deal just put a damper on it, just like everything else. But hopefully we'll get to do something in the future.
Rain check for sure.
And try to birth Tim Lincecum for us a little bit more. we can't seem to find him very much, and would love your help in making him a little more, present.
He is so hard to get a hold of, not only for you guys, the media, everybody, but even his fellow ex-teammates are, but the funny thing is that's how kind of Timmy has always been, and it's not just anything new. I love Timmy. I say this all the time. If it wasn't for Tim Lincecum, nobody would have ever remembered my 2 home runs against Roy Halladay, because he threw an absolute gem against the Phillies on game 1, and we ended up winning. He only gave up a run maybe or 2, and we ended up winning, by a run or 2. And it was, if we go in and he gives up 8 earned runs and we lose, 8-2, nobody ever remembers what I did. And so I give him all the credit all the time. I just wish he would respond to my text messages.
Well, I am bummed that you can never have a cheesesteak again, but I feel like winning a World Series is worth it.
Okay. Sorry. All right, I can hear you.
So hard to believe that.
It would be a Zoom interview without one of these.
Hard to believe that 2010 was 10 years ago. For me, sometimes it feels like it was just yesterday.
Right.
So in light of it being the 10-year anniversary, I have a couple Remember 2010 trivia questions for you. pop culture question about 2010. Let's see how you do. 2010 was a World Cup year. The World Cup was that year in South Africa. Spain won. Do you remember the name of those buzzing horns that played and annoyed everybody watching the World Cup that year? What were those horns called?
I don't remember the name, but I do remember those horns, and they were absolutely terrible. Gosh, that's such a great question. I have no idea. I'm terrible. Yeah, I want to know the name of it.
Carmen, Cole, Therese, anyone want to help them out?
Vuvuzelas.
The
Vuvuzela.
Wait, Vuvuzela.
Vuvuzela.
Oh my gosh, that's hilarious. That's a really good question.
10 years ago. All right, number 2. I got 5 of these. Number 2, what female pop star famously wore a meat dress at the 2010 MTV Video Music Awards?
Lady Gaga.
Lady Gaga is correct.
Let's go.
Meat dress. All right, you're 1 for 2. That's pretty good.
All right, I'm gonna take the under on the. I'm gonna take the under. But go ahead, keep going.
What war movie about a bomb disposal team starring Jeremy Renner? Shout out Jeremy Renner, by the way. He's 9.
Shout out. Yes.
Won the 2010 Oscar for Best Picture.
War. I say. Okay. Give me the first part again.
What war movie about a bomb disposal team starring Jeremy Renner won the 2010 Oscar for Best Picture? I'll give you a hint. It sounds like a popular shoe store.
You're just going to confuse him more.
Seriously. Okay, I give up.
The Hurt Locker.
The Hurt Locker. Yeah, that's a good movie. Great movie.
Number 4.
Okay.
What post-apocalyptic zombie TV show debuted on Halloween of 2010 on the channel AMC?
Jeez.
Well, you guys had a game that night, so you didn't see.
I was gonna say, I'm focusing on facing like Cliff Lee in like Game 1 of the World Series. I can't even take a educated guess.
There's a.
Carmen, do you know?
It's The Walking Dead, is it not?
It is The Walking Dead.
Gosh.
All right, Cody, you're gonna get this.
Never seen one episode of that, by the way.
You're gonna get. All right. Here's number 5. What popular photo sharing app was introduced in October of 2010 and is now the second most downloaded app in the world with over 1 billion users?
This should be fairly easy, but I'm gonna take the most easiest guess and say Instagram.
Instagram is correct.
Let's go. I got a funny story about Twitter. So I joined Twitter literally like the second day it ever came on, like when it first opened. Yeah, and David Sampson, who was the president of the Marlins, came down from upstairs and said, "You got to delete your Twitter account." And I said, "Why?" I said, because it's nothing but bad stuff can happen on there. And so I followed his advice and deleted my Twitter account. Otherwise, I would have had like one of the first Twitter accounts ever. I literally, as soon as it came on, I did it, and then I got rid of it. But then I got it back, like I think in 2010 or something. But that's my social media thing that I wanted to share with everybody.
You could have been one of the first viral stars.
I could have been. I could have been.
Cody, 2 for 5. That's
Maybe
400.
I could go back.
You know, if I could have batted 2 for 5 for my career, I might still be playing.
You and Ted Williams. Carmen, what were you saying?
Sorry, Carmen, what'd you say?
Don't worry about it. I said I work for Twitter, so I can go back and verify your story.
Yes, please do. I don't remember my handle.
You get
It might have been at Cody Ross 12, or I don't remember what. But yeah, go check it out. I wanted and see what day I joined, because it was early.
Well, I want to move into. We have some fan questions for you.
All right. Yay.
It's actually our first fan question because he is a big fan of yours. So Anthony, go ahead.
I do have a question. It's something I've always wondered about you as a player. You're kind of a baseball unicorn. You've got your switch hitters that throw lefty. You have a lot of right-handed throwing. players who bat lefty, like Brandon Crawford, Tim Lincecum. Yep. You're the rare person that throws left-handed but hits right-handed. And I always thought that was really unique. And it was like, how does that happen? So how does that happen? How does a person throw lefty and hit righty? Because off the top of my head, the only other person I can think of is Ricky Henderson. So it's you and Ricky Henderson are the only two people that do that.
There's a handful, but so I figured since I was in high school, I'm like, you know what? I'm 5'9.5". I'll tell people I'm 5'11", but I'm really like 5'10". And I'm like, since you're 5'10", you might as well make baseball hard as possible. So let's just throw left-handed and hit right-handed and see how hard it can possibly be for me to get to the big leagues. And so that's kind of how it happened. No, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. That's not it. So when I was a young kid, I was always naturally left-handed, and I saw my dad play golf one time, or maybe swing a bat. My dad was a really good athlete, and he started swinging a bat, and so I just like picked up a bat and just started copying what he was doing, and it just kind of held. And then once I got into like middle school, I felt like maybe I could hit left-handed, and I tried it, and I was actually decent. I could get the job done, but I was never as good as I was right-handed. So when the game, I was so competitive, shockingly enough, as a kid, that when the time came when I needed to bat left-handed against a right-handed pitcher, which is most of the time, I would be like, you know what? I got a way better chance of hitting a homer right-handed, so I'm just going to go up there right-handed and do damage, where left-handed, I was like 50-50 on whether I was going to even make contact. So I totally canned it and just focused on batting right-handed. I didn't even realize it was like that big of a deal, like that I was lefty-righty, until I got into high school and scouts were like, wow, like that's really weird. You bat right-handed. And I'm like, well, what's weird about it? He was like, well, watch a game sometime and see if you see anybody do that. And I'm like, okay. And I didn't see anybody except Ricky Henderson. And then so finally, like, I was like, you know what, this is really bad. Like, I don't know if I'm going to be able to make it to the big leagues doing this. And I just worked my butt off, and it ended up happening. And it was, it's definitely something that's unorthodox, but it ended up working out.
Yeah, you and Ricky Henderson, that's pretty good company.
Yeah, not bad.
Well, I have a couple. Oh, go ahead, Cody.
I was going to say, he stole a few more bases than me, but we're similar in a lot of ways.
Well, I have a couple other questions from some fans that don't host the show. Nick from Twitter wants to ask about a moment that you had with Matt Cain, where maybe you hit a homer against him and did a little bat flip. Did you guys ever have an actual conversation about that? How did that happen?
Oh yeah. It was that was a great moment. So we're in San Francisco. I think this was like 2009. I was having a pretty good year. I was with the Marlins and facing Matt Cain, and Matt was, I faced him a little bit in the minor leagues, and he was always like that, like just prospect, like top high-end starter, and he was so dominant always. And I'm like, all right, well, this guy's really good, and if I hit a homer, I'm just gonna, let him know. So I did. I hit a home run, and I literally flipped my bat, and without it wasn't because it was Matt Cain. It was just because I was so excited. Like, I'm like, wow, I just hit a homer off Matt Cain, and I had this bat flip going that year. What I didn't really mean to. It was just kind of like this progressive thing that happened, and it started in batting practice. And this is a great lesson for a lot of kids, is when you practice bad habits, you're end up gonna do them when you don't really want to. Like, if you're practicing something like fielding a ground ball and you're going through your legs, like in a game, when it happens, you're gonna accidentally field a ball between your legs. So I was hitting BP one day, and we were playing home run derby, because that's what we would do when when you're bored in the big leagues, is play home run derby your last round of BP. So you know, the last few rounds you're hitting home runs and you flipping the bat after, like, yeah, I just won that round. And anyway, just kind of progressed into that and then started doing it in the game. And I'm like, oh no, like I hit a homer and I would like let go of my bat. And I'm like, oh geez, that's really not my personality. And then it just kind of just evolved. And then once I got to San Francisco, I hit one off Matt Cain and I like flipped the bat and he kind of gave me this like stare around the bases and I'm like, oh boy, like that's not good. He's gonna drill me. He thought it was like 95. And anyway, fast forward, I get to San Francisco when I get traded or claimed off waivers, and I'm walking around the clubhouse, and he's like, I get to him, and he's sitting in his chair, and he gives me the stare, and he's like, did you really have to flip your bat that far off me? Like dead serious. And I'm like, I'm sorry, man. I didn't really mean to. And he was like, yeah, you did. And I'm like, no, I didn't. I promise. And he was like, he was really serious. And he was like, no, I'm just kidding. He was like, I thought it was awesome. But we had this like awesome conversation about it. Ended up becoming really good buddies and, played some golf together whenever he lived in Arizona. But then he decided to move back to the Bay Area.
Oh, wow. I feel like the bat flip is now like the official movement.
Oh, yeah.
Play. So, you were above, you were already starting the movement. But it was.
That and launch angle, launch angle wasn't really a thing back then, but like when I was with the Marlins, it was like me and Dan Ugla, Mike Jacobs. There was like this handful of guys like Hanley, all just trying to like hit the ball like as high as we possibly could. And we didn't even really know what launch angle was, but now it's like a thing. Maybe, I don't know, maybe I could take credit for that too.
Yeah, you got Twitter.
Twitter, the demise of the Phillies and the launch angle.
We have another question from T-Cam from Twitter, and
okay.
Somewhat of a joke, somewhat serious. At what point in 2010 did you realize the Marlins made a terrible mistake?
Oh, okay. I'm going to give you the short answer to a long-winded answer. Short, yeah, that's what I meant. So as soon as I knew that I got put on waivers in August, and we play a game on Sunday, and I get called into the office, and the GM, the owner, the president, everybody was in the office for the Marlins, and they said, Cody, got some, news for you. We decided to let you go. You're a San Francisco Giant. And I was like, you kidding me? I'm like, they're starting a new stadium next year in Miami. I wanted to be a part of it. I wanted to be a part of that team. I loved all my teammates. And I'm like, you guys are making a huge mistake. And so the GM was like, well, it was $1 well spent, is what he said. His name was Larry Beinfest. And the backstory to that was they paid $1 to get me from the Cincinnati Reds. And they told me it was $1 well spent. I'm like, oh, that was kind of rude, but all right. So I told him, I was like, you're making a huge mistake. I go, I'm going to prove you wrong. I promise you this. And so I get to San Francisco, and I'm like, wait a second. Where am I even going to play in San Francisco? There's like 7 outfielders, and I'm like the 8th one. Like, I don't even – this is terrible. And then, Boach calls me in the office. He's like, hey, we're really happy to have you. And then I talked to Brian Saban, and he was like, hey, just to let you know, we really wanted you. We weren't trying to block you to go to the Padres. And I'm like, well, I really don't feel like I have a place here. And they're like, oh, you do. And anyway, ended up working my way into the lineup, and I'll never forget this. So the beginning of the season, 2010, our owner, Jeffrey Loria, said, if whoever is the National League Championship Series MVP, I'm going to give him my Ferrari. Because he used to drive this red Ferrari into the stadium every day. So sure enough, I win the National League MVP. I sent him a message that said, hey, Jeffrey, it's Cody. Just waiting for, delivering my Ferrari. And he laughed. He said, ha ha, you had to do it when you were with the Marlins. Congratulations. But that was it. But yeah, that was the backstory behind, me and the Marlins. And I told him, I was like, you're making a big mistake. And, that was it.
How often can you say you're making a huge mistake, storm out, and actually be right?
Right, exactly. I had to go and prove it, for sure.
I would send that guy a Christmas card every year. Holding that NLCS trophy.
You're right. Still waiting for my Ferrari.
Yeah. Jeffrey Loria owes you a Ferrari.
He does.
We'll resurface that with this video, so hopefully he'll make.
Absolutely, yes. Please do.
Well, we'll have one more for you.
Okay.
GM wants to know if you could face two all-time great pitchers at their prime, one active and one from before your playing days. Who would you choose? So two guys, one from before.
If I could face them, like always?
Yeah, sure. Say that.
Wow, that's a really good question. I would say I had the most success against Cole Hamels. So if I could face him sorry, Cole, I love Cole. Cole's a great guy. But I put up some really good numbers against Cole. He's still active, right?
I think he is.
Yes. Well, you know.
That's a good question. Man, I'd like to face him if he was active or not active. So that's my two.
You wanted to face?
I'm sorry, what'd you say, Carmen?
Somebody back in the day that just for fun to say, I think this person that you picked.
Nolan Ryan.
Ooh.
Yeah, Nolan Ryan was my hero growing up. I grew up actually born in New Mexico, and the only real true sports team that we followed here was the Rangers. And anyway, so I would be a huge fan. I was a huge fan of his, and then I grew up in Texas. Sorry, I'm getting distracted. Grew up in Texas, and ended up being a huge Ranger fan then. And then so I got to meet Nolan, and then I never got to face him. But he's just my idol growing up, and I love that guy.
That's awesome.
Oh, Cole, you just went on mute. I don't know why.
Whoopsie.
There you go.
All right. Thanks for joining us, Cody. Sorry, I just got a phone call mid-thing and my screen flipped up.
All good.
Thanks for joining us. I'll tell my dad to call me later next time, not mid-show. Guys, on behalf of Carmen, Therese, Anthony, thanks for watching Shelter on Base.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.